This thing costs just shy of 5,000 euro. And that's 60 kilograms. I think it's the heaviest EUC in the world as well. With a 176 volt architecture, it has plenty of power and top speed. And honestly, how did this get there? I don't mean the boat. I mean the scooter. Guys, what are you doing with those scooters? Why are you putting them here? Some sort of statement? So is this where EUCs are heading? Well, let me tell you more about it in this video.
Wrong way.
The new number is, please note, the new number is, new number is,
The number you have dialed is not synchronous operators are standing by. I have nothing to say.
So hi, and welcome to Wrong Way. I'm Mr. Wrong Way, and in today's video, I'm gonna tell you where I think EUCs, like the machines in general, are heading to towards the future, like how they will look like, and how riders and rider groups have evolved over the years. And in order to make this video a little bit more digestible, like light to digest, not a big heavy pasta portion before going to sleep, but maybe a light cookie cracker, I have chopped this video into pieces in order for you to understand where I'm going from and where EUCs in general are going towards. Before we start though, I would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button, if you would subscribe to the channel. There will be plenty of EUC reviews coming, including the Librakim Oryx that I'm riding on in this video. In recent videos you have been smashing the like button, and this really helps to make those videos more visible and just keeps the algorithm fed and happy. Thank you so much if you did that. And if you want to get a wheel in Europe, I now work with Monokolo.eu. They are a EU-wide distributor, and I'm now sponsored by them, so I can do more stuff on the channel. You can also use my coupon code WRONGWAY to receive a 10% discount on your purchase. You also do help me out by doing that. With that said, back to the video. So first, let's rewind the clock a little to 6 years ago in order to tell you where my, oh my God, it's so windy today, my predictions and direction hypotheses are coming from. When I started riding electric unicycles, there wasn't really that much stuff available as there is today. And if you wanted to buy an electric unicycle, you basically had more or less two categories to choose from. And they were also far from being as reliable and capable as they are today. But anyway, the first category were low budget electric unicycles, and those were wheels between 500 to 1,000 euro. So your Kingsong 14D, your InMotion V8, your Gotway, because back then it was Gotway, not Begode. Same company, different name. Or 9-bot wheels that were basically starter wheels, and I would consider them as toys plus. And as much as I do love the Kingsong 14D, it's nowhere near as capable and reliable as some of the more expensive modern wheels. So basically those were the wheels that you would get instead of a Xiaomi scooter or a little bit more expensive scooter that you could learn how to ride on. They were a little bit more fun with speakers, of course more fun to ride in a scooter in my opinion at least, because you have balancing included, more portable and lighter. Now the second category were high-end electric unicycles, and those would be the Kingsong 18XL or Gotway MSX. And those wheels had a lot more performance. They wouldn't go just 25-30 kilometers an hour as the cheaper ones, but up to 50 kilometers an hour. And back in the day, that was insane. I was scared to go 50 kilometers an hour on an electric unicycle. And even if you say that today, probably if you are new to the channel, you're surprised that those things can go much faster than 50 kilometers an hour. Nevertheless, those were wheels that went faster, that could do a fair amount of off-roading, but they were still not really that reliable. Basically, they were not designed to handle a lot of tumbles without breaking the plastic shell, the axle, or the main control board. And those wheels went for about 1,500 to 2,000 euro. And basically, this was the top of the range that you could get 6 years ago. In order to sum it up, you would either get like a commuter electric unicycle that you would get instead of a scooter that could do stuff, was, fairly reliable, but couldn't do any sort of, stairs, inclines, or off-road. And if you would be careful with it, well, it would serve for a while. They were advanced for the time, but they're definitely not as advanced as today's electric unicycles. And the other category was more for the power user, the person that wanted to go to work and back, but maybe wanted to have a little bit more range and more capabilities, a bit more performance, and wanted to use the electric unicycle not only to go to work and back, but also to have some fun. But today, well, today is different. Man, it starts raining, but hopefully it won't too much. But anyway, what is it like today with the electric unicycle market? And today I feel like there's more like 4 main categories of EUCs according to, well, price range. I try to just make those categories based on price because that's the easiest to judge by the wallet. So the first category of EUC stayed pretty much the same, and most of the wheels in this category are also the same, with some electronics improvements like Smart BMS from Kingsong 14D to 14D Pro. Those EUCs are between 500 to 1,000 euro, but we didn't see like very fundamental changes in this area. We did get a learner EUC, the E20 by Emotion, but at the same time, 5 years ago, we had the Emotion V3 Pro, if anyone remembers that. So that is cool, but it's still a, people will say it's a very durable wheel because it's made of plastic, cheap to replace, and maybe, yeah, fine. But I just prefer something made out of magnesium and something that is a little bit more capable, not just something you learn on and then you just pass it on or sell it. There's been also the Emotion V6, but that is also like, there's nothing really groundbreaking about it apart from the wide tire. Begode made a fair amount of newer, smaller wheels, but their quality assurance and after sales have been really lacking lately. So between 500 to 1,000 euro, I think this is the area where we need the most focus now in order to get more riders into the sport so they can learn on a lighter wheel, and to get more riders into the sport that simply do not want to spend 5,000 euro or even 3,000 euro on an electric unicycle. Oh my god, it's starting to rain. So yeah, I'm just holding the camera now because I'm waterproof. The camera isn't. Now the next category is a new one, and basically according to the price it's the high-end tier of 6 years ago because it's between 1,500 to 2,000 euro. And those are your middle range or intermediate wheels, the Kingsong S16, the Nosfet Aero, like maybe even Emotion V9, Begode Falcon Pro, although with Begode it's a different story, they have a different business model right now. And those are the wheels with suspension that can go up to like 50 kilometers an hour, that are very capable, they're more durable than the wheels of 6 years ago at the same price. It can charge faster, have more features, and honestly, I feel like this segment has been lately benefiting a lot. And especially Nosfet made big bucks with their new Nosfet Aero because they came in at around 2,000 euro and made a wheel that is fairly light at 24 kilograms, has great amount of performance, good features, fast charging, all of the basic stuff that you need from a wheel, and still keep it, reliable. This is still expensive. You can get scooters at a way cheaper price that can go both faster. Maybe they don't look as cool, they don't have that much battery safety features, but yeah, I mean, sometimes just the wallet chooses what you can get. The high-end category is a lot more expensive now, and those are the Liperkim Lynxes, the Patton S's, the Emotion V14s, Kingsong F18, Begode X-Way, whatever Extreme Bull makes, and etc, etc. Over 3,000 euro, you get about 3,000 watt hours of battery, so up to 100 kilometers of range, over 60 kilometers an hour of top speed, and well, those electric unicycles are basically your dirt bike equivalents with different specs and a much smaller still than a dirt bike form factor. Of course they have suspension, of course they have fast charging, and of course then they can easily go up 40-degree inclines. But at over 3,000 euro, this is a lot, and you can buy a lot of other stuff for that price. And on top of that, you can spend even more by buying those, well, very sick nylon oak pedals, which are, in my opinion, way better than the stock pedals on Liperkim wheels. Coupon code wrong way if you want to get those. And you can also customize the wheel with Grizzla pads and accessories if you want to spend even more money. Yeah, the same coupon code also applies for Grizzla. But that is also not the end of the money spendage. The high-end segment is not the most expensive segment, well, of the made-up segments that I just made up. There's also the ultra wheel or super high-end segment, the wheels over 4,000 euro, like this one, 4,500 euro on the Liperkim Oryx. Around the same price on the Emotion P6, the Liperkim Sherman L, and the Begode Race is cheaper, but then again, Begode is Begode. And those wheels are absolutely insane. Here we have a 4,700 watt-hour battery, which is almost as big as the Citroen Ami car that has 4 wheels. It goes over 100 kilometers an hour, has a huge 22-inch tire. It weighs 60 kilograms. Like, how heavy can a wheel get? It has a front light with a cutoff beam like a motorcycle. It has an amazing tail light that is also super visible. Well, this one is my Grizzla, so that's why it's even more visible. And with that wheel, you can go even 200 kilometers far, maybe even further. The maximum charge rate on this wheel can probably blow most of the fuses in household sockets. So definitely we can tell that there's improvement in wheels, but what about the rider groups? How have those changed? Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you want to see the full review of this thing. So initially those were 2 chapters, but I realized I was yapping on for a very long time already, so let's just compress it to 1. Rider groups then and now. So when I started riding 6 years ago, there were just basically 2 categories of riders. The one category was just the commuters, chill riders, who just use electric unicycle in order to go from home to work and do some minor errands, groceries, etc. And the second category were the power users that want to, test the limits of the electric unicycle, do inclines, have fun stuff, and in the meantime also use it for commuting and getting around town. There really wasn't that much in between, because if you actually wanted to use the electric unicycle in a fun way and, push the sport a little bit, well, then it was very probable that you just used it all the time. Because, those were the fanatics, and including me. Nowadays, I feel like the rider groups are a lot more niche, and because electric unicycles have, grown in various directions, the same thing applies to the rider groups. So, of course, there's still the commuters, the casual riders, the chill users, probably the ones that you don't see on the forums a lot, but maybe it's the biggest group. If you're just a casual rider, if you just used your electric unicycle in a chill way to do your groceries, your errands, well, comment below if you're that kind of person. So of course there's also the power user, same thing as before, we use it for everything, fun stuff, not fun stuff, commutes, errands, etc, etc. Now apart from that, I think there is another rider group growing, which is the long range riders that want to just do very big distances on big battery wheels. And those maybe don't use the EUC in day-to-day scenarios, but they also might, it depends. But they just want to travel really far with the EUC. And I feel like with Marty Bach and with a lot of riders in the US, that is the case. And another category that I didn't anticipate growing or even existing so much when I started riding EUCs is the competitive riders, the ones that just use it as a sport. They don't use it in day-to-day scenarios, they just use a bike or they use a car. And they just take the EUC as their way to have a hobby or have just a bit more sport in their life. So those are the guys that do the EUC races, very popular in Spain, on go-kart tracks or motorcycle tracks, car tracks. The guys that go off-roading, they like to do jumping. And I feel like that's very interesting that even in our field, we have this sort of group of people, and that the machines got so good that you can actually just use this for a competitive sport. But now the question remains, and basically the title of the video, which I put at the end of the video in order for you to keep watching, you can be grateful or not. Based on everything I've said, where are EUCs going to now? Well, first of all, I'm surprised that it didn't go the direction that I thought it would go. I thought those things, like the Emotion V10, the small wheels would just take over and people would just ride EUCs instead of scooters. And here we are with a scooter plague. So yeah, take my predictions with a grain of salt because they might be wrong. Yeah, the name of the channel is very accurate. So my first prediction, I think, is the most sensible one, and that is that the performance EUCs will get performance-er. Over the years, we've always have been getting more powerful electric unicycles with bigger suspension travel, with bigger batteries, more capable motors, less overheating. So a very surefire thing to say is that, you know, 2-3 years from now, will we get 300 volt EUCs? I mean, it's not that so far off the charts now, as we have 176 volt here, 235 volt in the Emotion P6, and plenty of wheels being just insanely, ridiculously fast. For example, the P6 going 150 kilometers an hour. The only concern that I have here is once we have those machines, what about the regulators? Will they just take a look at, you know, the site of a EUC seller and see top speed 150 kilometers an hour and be like, huh, yeah, that's totally makes sense. This doesn't need a license plate, doesn't need insurance. Yeah, makes sense, good. With that said, I'm 100% certain that we will get even more performance out of those things. So faster, longer range, more torque, and probably also lighter, more reliable. That has just been the tendency over the years. My second prediction, although this is more like wishful thinking, although maybe it can happen, I would love that to happen. And that is that the cheaper electric unicycle market needs to grow. And by cheaper, it doesn't mean it's cheap, it's just cheaper than the cheapest unicycles that, in my mind, I can wholeheartedly recommend. So today, a wheel that I can wholeheartedly recommend for anything, and that is the cheapest price, that is the Nosfed Aero. It has good quality, good reliability. They don't make a huge selection of wheels like Bigot, so I am very certain that they will have the parts readily available for years to come. At least that's my hope. So it is very tough for me to recommend something like wholeheartedly for anyone below that price, because some EUCs, they don't have the strongest shell, some EUCs don't have the best after sales, some don't have a very strong axle. So I just want Nosfed or Liperkim, because those are the wheels that time and time again riders have proven to be the most reliable and the ones that have the parts readily available for the longest time and with the wheels with the biggest mileages. I want them to make a more affordable wheel, like 1,000 watt-hour up to 1,500 watt-hour non-suspension wheel, because those wheels are easier to learn on, they're cheaper to make, and they're cheaper to buy. And not everyone needs to have suspension, a huge range, and a lot of weight. So even though we have the 16X Pro I made a review about earlier, and there's still a bunch of Kingsong wheels that are pretty reasonable, they're still a bit dated and they don't have the newest tech, the newest materials, and the newest technology solutions. So NOSFIT, Liperkim, if you could make like $1,000 or sub $1,000, 1,000 watt-hour or even less, more, whatever, the shell might make sense to make off, yes, please do, because this is the niche that is the furthest underdeveloped that we have on the market right now. Non-suspension, up to 25 kilograms or maybe below, and around $1,000. If you could make that, that'd be amazing, and make it as robust as the other wheels, because I want to throw that thing around. I really want a good non-suspension wheel that is cheaper and reliable. I would just make me a new MSX in 2026. High voltage, good quality, good safety, good reliability. I hope that is the direction that we'll get, but maybe it's just wishful thinking. Another direction that I'm curious about, I don't really know how it will pan out, but the question is, what happens to the non-dependable wheels? What happens to the brands that time and time again have proven to make maybe questionable products or make product launches that have been quite troublesome? Will we have like an indefinite begode amount of wheels because there's just so many people that are new to EUCs and they don't know how the after sales will be? They don't know like that if you pay less, you can actually get a lot less and you have more headache. So my question is, like, what happens to those wheels? Will the product lines that are just not reliable in the long run just cease to exist because new riders will just find out in videos or on Reddit threads or wherever that those wheels are actually not worth buying? And my worst experience so far, sadly, has been with Begode when it comes to after sales, parts, etc. Let me know in the comments what was your worst experience with a wheel manufacturer. Apparently, if you just make the price low enough and you just keep inventing, you keep experimenting, they just stay afloat. And maybe there will be a time in the future where those not reliable wheels will cease to be on sale anymore. But what about legislation? Where are we getting to with that? Because in some countries, like in Poland or in France, we got new legislation that actually allows those wheels to be ridden in public on bike paths, etc., etc. And in some countries, more stricter and stricter bans are being enforced. Like in Spain, in the Netherlands, it's never been legal, but it's always tough there. Beware of the motorcycle cops. In Belgium, it keeps getting more difficult, especially with performance wheels. But in Germany, you were never allowed to ride a wheel. So I don't really know, like, globally where we're heading with that. Well, when it comes to Europe, I think it will really just depend on the country where you're at. And in Poland, I'm just fortunate enough in this regard that I can more or less ride wherever I want with whatever reasonable speed I want to be. And I'm very careful. I don't want to upset anyone. I'm not a psychopath that just blasts everywhere with high speed. No, I just try to be reasonable and not bother anyone. And in other countries, well, it's really hit or miss. It will just really depend on how many users are willing to push through legislation that make those things legal. And over the years, it has been really a big struggle. And while scooter riders have been getting their legislation right, like in Germany, for example, with EUCs it has been tough. And even with organizations like Legal Rijden in the Netherlands, like, not really much has changed over the years. So I think there'll be just either a stalemate. Maybe if there's a fuel crisis, well, looking at the geopolitical status of the world, there might be one coming, then it will be easier to actually make legislation to make people just use this instead of cars. With that said, globally, I think the markets are expanding, especially in the US. I feel like more people will be riding those in the future. Globally, I think it's expanding. Let me know where you're from in the comments, and let me know if more and more people are coming to ride those things in your area. Another sort of market prediction that I have is that low quality wheels and wheels with bad after sales will just lose value tremendously. And we already see that happening. Begode wheels from years ago, like the RS or Monster Pro, they're very, very cheap to get, especially the ones without the smart BMS and that are just ridden over 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 kilometers. Same thing applies to other wheels that just don't have the best reliability. And I know it's pretty obvious, wheels that don't live long probably won't be purchased at a high price. So yeah, if you actually want to get good value with your wheel, maybe it's worth to invest a little bit more in order to have also more resale value in the future. I feel like when you get a Librachem wheel, you at least retain maybe half of the wheel's value in a couple of years while you're using the wheel. Whilst if you got a MSX or an RS a couple of years ago, that thing might be worth just a quarter of the value when it was brand new. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, well, direction-wise, I guess, state of things-wise, is the hype gone? Do we still have an EUC hype, or is it just fully gone? And that's a bit of a complex question, because years ago, I feel like a lot of people started writing and they wanted to explore, EUCs because they're super new. We didn't know so much about them, and we didn't know as much about their reliability as we know today. So today I feel like the main hype, like people from scooters mainly know EUCs, but they still don't want to get ahead and try them, or at least not the majority of people. But we see that a lot of sports enthusiasts, like for example Sam Pilgrim, they try EUCs and they have actually a lot of fun with them. So I feel like the hype, especially in the sports world or extreme sports world, will be growing. But the hype in general when it comes to just commuting, I don't know. Do you think the peak EUC interest is already gone, or is it yet to come? We also had EUCs in movies like Indian 2 or Indian 3, I can't remember, sorry. Law Laxina from the US was starring there. So, I don't know, kind of a tough question, but when it comes to just new riders around town, I feel like the biggest amount of riders, especially also in group rides, or at least in my area, was maybe 2-3 years ago, and now smaller niche groups have formed, and that's how we ride. So maybe the hype isn't gone, it's just transcends into different areas. All right, so if you're still here, I'm surprised. There was a lot of yapping in this video. If you still didn't press the like button, do it now. Comment something below. Let me know what you think about this subject. Where are EUCs heading? And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. See you soon. This is a chunker.